Chapter 13 Trigonometry Functions Review. Question number 1. The side of right triangle ABC have length 10, 24 feet, and 26 feet, which could be the cosine of angle B. So the keyword here is right triangle. Whenever it comes to right triangle, you can go ahead and give yourself, so just go ahead and draw a right triangle, a triangle with a right angle 90 degree. And whenever it comes to 90 degree, what comes to your mind? Please think about Pythagorean theorems. Pythagorean theorems is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So you guys should be very familiar with this. And the longest side is always right across from your 90 degree, the hypotenuse. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That's the longest side. So of all the three numbers, 10, 24, 26, which number is the longest? So obviously 26 is the longest. Then from here, you can put down 10 or 24. It doesn't really matter. Now, which one could be cosine of angle B? Cosine of angle B. Cosine, what's the definition of cosine? Cosine is defined as adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse. And as I mentioned, hypotenuse is always the longest. Hypotenuse is always the longest. So it's either going to be 26 at the denominator. Which one is it going to be your adjacent? We don't know. But in fact, it doesn't really matter because, as you can see here, 10 over 26 or 24 over 26. Because we don't know which one it is. The main point here is, as you reduce the number, do you see that? As you reduce the numbers, your denominator is always end up with 13. So the only possibility for you would be something over 13. So which would be the options? Which would be the options? So obviously number A, letter A. Anything divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse should be the longest side. So this is how I would do the problem. Question number 2. A carpenter is making a ramp for a ski jump. The ramp is made from a 25 feet board tilted at 30 degrees angles from the ground. Approximately how far off the ground is the end of the ramp? So again, draw a triangle for yourself. So according to the story given, we know that this is going to be a board with a tilt of 30 degrees. 30 degrees. And the ramp is made from 25 feet. So obviously this board is being tilted. 25 feet tilted. Do you remember that I said whatever you have a 30 degree, the side right across from 30 degree would always be half of your hypotenuse. So what is 25 divided by 2? Or multiply it by 1/2. So obviously 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. So this is the part you will have to remember. Any side right across from 30 degree angle, okay, please remember, any side right across from 30 degree angle would have to be half of the hypotenuse length. Any side right across from the 30 degree would be half of the hypotenuse length. Question number 3. Which is the value of cotangent theta? Cotangent theta. So think about the definition of cotangent theta. Where is cotangent theta is defined as, whoops, I forgot how to do it. So normally I remember the tangent theta. So as you can see from my review, I'm trying to remind you how I do the problems. It's not necessary that I really forgot, but I like to refer back to the way when I teach it. So I use the tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. Now I know for cotangent, it's just the reciprocal Please do not use the word opposite, okay? Reciprocal, meaning that I put the denominator to top and the numerator to bottom, okay? Reciprocals. So now, can you tell me adjacent over opposite? Adjacent is the side that makes up the angle. Adjacent, so that would be 3. Opposite would be the side right across from the angle measurement, which is 4. So what do you think the answer is going to be? Isn't it very obvious? Cotangent theta for this example is going to be 3/4. Question number 4. Which is the angle of rotation shown below? So first thing you notice, it's a measurement measuring the angle clockwise. So whenever it comes to clockwise measurement of angles, your angle measurement should be negative. So that's first thing you recognize first. And then, what could be the reasonable answer for this particular example? So starting from 0, which is your positive x-axis, as you go in negative direction. So first one you hit negative 90 degree, followed by negative 180. So obviously it's already past the negative 150 option for your letter B. So the only options that left with would be A, negative 210. This angle measurement is greater than 180 degree. It passed through the 180 degree. So the only option for this answer would be negative 210. Question number 5. Which are two angles are both coterminal of with phi equals 90 degrees? So phi is just a symbol representation for an angle notations. So you can name it as angle A, angle B, angle X. In this case, it's just an angle phi. Phi equals 90 degrees. So what was the easiest way for you to find coterminal angles? Do you remember that? I said simply for coterminal angles, what am I going to do is I add 360 to find the positive coterminal angles. So 90 plus 360s, I get 450s. And then for the negative, I simply subtract 360. So I don't think there's anything easier than this. So on your test, I will give you the questions, but it's not going to be multiple choice. So you will have to do the calculation yourself. Add 360, subtract 360s to find your coterminal angles. So what's the best way and easiest way to find the positive coterminal angles? You add 360s. What's the best and easiest way for you to find the negative coterminal angles? You subtract 360s. So for this particular case, the answer is going to be D, 450 and negative 270. Question number 6. When viewed from the side, the nail is located at 90 degrees on the tire. The tire turns counterclockwise through 8.5 complete rotations. What is the new position of the nail in the tire? So what does it mean by complete 8.5? So no matter how you go, 8 is a complete circle. So basically, if you complete 8 complete circles, you will go back to 90 degrees. 90 degrees. So what's the important information here? It would be the 8.5, the 0.5. So the 0.5 circle would, if you were initially at 90 degree, where will you end up when you rotate 0.5 circles? 0.5 circles, right? Half of the circles. So from 90 degree, I rotate half of the circles, which will give me 270 degrees. D equals 270 degrees. So number 6 would have an answer of 270s. Number 7. What is the reference angle for delta equals 165? What does reference angle mean? So reference angle is always with respect to the x-axis. So if this is 0, your initial starting point, initial side, as you open 165 degrees, where is your reference angle? So again, we are looking for the closest x-axis, which is, in this case, that's 180 subtract 165, which gives us the answer as A, 15 degrees. 180 minus 165. We are looking for the closest x-axis. Number 8, a circular luggage returns has a diameter of 40 feet. A piece of luggage makes 3 revolutions in 12 minutes. Approximately how far does one piece of luggage travel in 1 minute? So basically we need to know how many revolutions it travel in 1 minute. So basically you can set up, if 3 rotation, it takes 12 minutes to rotate 3 rotations. How far would it rotate for just 1 minute? So 3 to 12 equals x to 1. I don't know how many revolutions. So now I'm going to use cross multiplications. Cross multiplications applies only when you see the equal sign. Okay? When you see the equal sign, then you can use cross multiplication. 3 times 1 equals 12 times x. So what's my x value? Divide both sides by 12. So my x equals 3 over 12, which is 1/4. So meaning that in 1 minute, the luggage only rotates 1/4 of a circle. So how do I find how far it travels? So I know for the circumference, it's going to be 2 pi r. 2 pi r. 2 times r times pi. So 2r is our diameters, which is 40 times pi times how many rotations in 1 minute? So 1/4 of a rotation, which gives us 10 pi. And 10 pi, you know the most famous irrational number, which is 3.14 times 10, which is 31.4. And in this case, our answer is just to the 31 feet. Question number 9. Which angle measure is closest to 8 radians? So 1 radian equals 180 over pi. And what does pi represent? Pi is 3.14. So what's 180 divided by 3.14? You can use your calculator. It's about 57.3, if I remember it right. I think it's very close to 57.3. So which angle measurement is close to 8 radians? So 8 times 57.3 degree equals 458.4. So 458.4 is greater than 1 revolution. So we have to take 458.4 degree. It's more than 1 revolution. So when 1 revolution is just 360 degrees. So which gives us 98.4 degrees. So which number is closest? So A is going to be my answer, 8 radians. So as I mentioned on your chapter test, I will not give you the multiple options. You will have to write out this yourself. So 1 radian equals 180 over pi. 1 radian equals 180 over pi, which is 57.3 degrees. Number 10, the sine of an angle, so let's just call it tilde, is 1/2, and the cosine of an angle tilde is negative √3 over 2, which is the cotangent of tilde. So when will sine be positive and cosine be negative? So that's the greatest hint there. When will cosine be positive and cosine be negative? Sine is positive in first and second. Cosine is negative in second and third. So they happens both when it is in second quadrant. So when sine equals 1/2. That's where it is. So this means that sine is always your y value and then cosine is always your x value. Cosine is negative in second quadrant, sine is positive in second quadrant. So what's going to be the cotangent tilde here? What's going to be cotangent? So cotangent, we just did it before. Cotangent is x over y. Adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over opposite. I'm sorry. Adjacent over opposite. Adjacent is your x value. Opposite is your y value. So what's going to be our answer here? Negative root 3. So this is just basically applying the definitions. Number 11, the point 3, negative 4. Where will you find 3, negative 4? So on your graph, you can mark this down. When x is positive, y is negative, it's in fourth quadrant. 3, negative 4 in standard form. The terminal side of the theta in standard position, which is sine theta. Sine. So we need the hypotenuse. How do I find the hypotenuse here? How do I find the hypotenuse? Because it's a right angle, so I can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the Pythagorean theorem, of course. So my hypotenuse is going to be the square root of 25, which is 5. So basically, if you remember your Pythagorean triples, this should come very easily. 3, 4, 5. Pythagorean triples, 3, 4, 5. So what's going to be your sine theta? What's going to be sine theta? So theta is here with respect to the x-axis, which is opposite over hypotenuse, which is negative 4 over 5. So your answer is going to be C. Question number 12. So Kate leans a ladder against her house to get onto the roof. The house is 20 feet tall, 25 feet tall, 25 feet tall. So first thing, I would like to mark it down as I read the story. The house is 25 feet tall and the ladder of the foot is 15 foot away. So this is 25 feet tall and then the ladder is 15 feet away from the foot of the ladder is 15 feet away. So what is the angle the ladder makes? So we are looking for this angle. So which would give you the best answers when you talk about this? So think about the angle is theta. So what do we call this side? What do we call this side? It's right across from the angle measurement, so we call it opposite. What do we call this side? It's adjacent. It's the angle that makes up this. So which one should we use? Opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent is calling for what function? Tangent function. So tangent theta equals 25 over 15. So how do we find the angle theta? We are going to take the inverse, which is the arc, which is the inverse function of tangent. So on your calculator, you will have to use your calculator. What's tangent theta? What's the inverse of tangent? 5 over 3. What's the inverse? You'll find the answer is going to turn out to be 59 degrees. So again, you will need your calculators. So go ahead and use your calculator. What's the inverse of tangent 5 over 3? Don't forget, you will need this on your test. So I won't give you the answers as the options. You will have to use your calculator to show me your work. Number 13, which value of mu makes the equation 2 cosine mu equals -1 true? 2 cosine mu equals -1. So I'm going to multiply both sides I'm going to divide both sides by 2, which is -1/2. Cosine mu equals -1/2. So when will your cosine have a -1/2 value? So again, we are thinking about the inverse. Inverse of cosine is -1/2. When will that happen? So this will happen when your angle measurement mu equals 120 degrees. 120 degrees is in second quadrant, so your cosine will be a negative value. It has a reference angle of 60 degrees, so the ratio is going to be 1 over 2. Number 14, which set of expressions where n is an integer gives all possible values of inverse sine of root 2 over 2. Inverse sine of root 2 over 2. Whenever you see the root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2 should give you, you should refer quickly to the 45-45 isosceles triangle information. 45-45, so that this way you will have the ratio of the hypotenuse as 1 and then the other 2 as root 2 over 2. So that's something you will have to remember. Root 2 over 2 is with respect to 45-degree isosceles triangles, right triangles. So 45 degrees, what's 45 degrees in radian? 45 degrees in radians would be pi over 4. So if you forget the formula, it will be 45 times pi over 180, which reduces down to pi over 4. So since we are looking at sine, the possible solution should be sine is positive in first and second quadrant. So that should be 45 degrees and 135. And no matter how many rotations you go around, plus 2n pi will give you the exact same result. So these would be the possible answers. So these would be your possible answers. Question number 15. A blueprint of a table is shown below. What is the area of the table to the nearest tenth of the square foot? So remember, when we calculate the area, so first thing I would like to put down the symbol for the triangle A, B, C. So do we have the side angle side? In order for you to calculate the area, you need the side angle side. So here we have B, A, and angle C. Side, angle, side. The angle would have to be the included angle. So I can directly plug it in. 1/2 of A. What is our A? What's our B? What's our C? So go ahead and plug that in your calculator. You will find the answer is going to be 14.8 foot square. Area is always foot squares. Number 16. Given that measurement of angle C equals 45 degrees and side A equals 8 and B equals 16, what is the length of side C? So again, I'll enter the information that I'm given. So the side right across from your angle is always small letter. Don't forget that. I'm not going to give you that. I won't be able to give you that on your test. So you will have to make up your triangle yourself. So we have A equals 8, B equals 16, and angle C is 45. So what is your C going to be? So C equals A squared plus B squared minus 2 times A times B times cosine angle C. So plug the number in with the information that you have. A is B, 8, B is 16, A is 8, B is 16, and cosine angle C is 45 degrees. So don't forget to take the square root as your final answer. So what's going to be your final answer? Again, don't forget to take your square root, okay? Use your calculator, you'll find the answer is going to be 11.8. Double check on your calculators. You will need this information when you take the chapter test. If you get any other numbers, make sure you check with me. Question number 17. Given the information in the diagram below, what are the measures of side G and E rounded to their nearest tenth? So we can calculate the last angle because we need the angle side pair for the law of sine. So please remember, you need the angle side pair to look for the sine, to work for law of sine. So first I take the 180, subtract the other two angles, 85 and 15. So I find the last angle O to be 80 degrees. Now I have the angle side pair. Angle O and the side O, which is 10. So now we can do G over sine 15 degrees equals, so G is right across from 15 degrees, equals 10 over sine 80 degrees. Multiply both sides by sine 15, you get G equals, so use your calculator and then to calculate your numbers there. Same thing for the E. E over sine 85 degrees equals 10 over sine 80 degrees. Multiply both sides by sine 85 degrees, you can calculate the E number. And then the answer is going to be So check on your answers. It's going to be your letter B. G equals 2.6 and then your B equals 10.1. Once again, you have to check. Is the largest angle across from the largest side, the smallest angle from the smallest side. Number 18, Dan is making a border for a triangular placemat. He wants it to have side length of A equals 8 and B equals 4 inches. If angle A measures to be 50 degrees, how many different placements can Dan make? So obviously your side A equals 8 is greater than side B. So obviously you can make a triangle out of this. So side A is greater than B, so you can make one triangle. So the answer for 18 is going to be 1. Question number 19. The Rodriguez family wants to tile the countertop in the kitchen shown below. The tile they want to use costs $5 per square foot. What is the approximate cost of tiling this area? So in order for you to find the area, you will need to find one of the angles. So I'm going to start with law of cosine, and I want to go with the largest side. So when you apply the law of cosine, you want to go with the largest angle, largest side first. Cosine A, so side A is the largest because 3, 5, 6. So 6 is the longest side. So cosine angle A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared, the whole thing divided by 2BC. Plug in the numbers. You can calculate using your calculator. Angle A turns out to be 93.8 degrees. Plug that into the area formula, which is 1/2 of BC times sine angle A. And because it cost $5 per square foot, so I just go ahead and multiply by 5, which turns out to be 37.42. That's letter A. So for number 19, your answer is going to be letter A. Number 20. For triangle KOR with side length KO and R, which equation can be used to determine O? Because this is looking for the side, so the answer should be pretty straightforward and direct. It's cosine functions. You have 3 sides. In order for you to find one of the side, you will need to use the cosine. So obviously, between A and B, only A has the cosine functions. It's calling for the cosine function. So the answer is going to be A for 20. So 19 and 20 are both with answer A. So make sure you practice all these trigonometry functions and be prepared and turn in your review paper on the chapter test day.